Hi folks, this is a video on United 175 and its connections to the occult. Um, Now before I get into these connections in this video, I want to give you a piece of advice, very strong advice. Um, Normally I would say don't take my word for it, do your own research. In this case, no, I would not suggest that you do that. It's very difficult to know when it's okay to look at occultic stuff in terms of research and when it's not. Um, this is an area where I think it's very easy to cross the line between what's okay and what's not. So I would suggest that you use extreme discretion in researching this stuff on your own. This Enochian stuff does not play around. This is very deep, dark, evil stuff, and even the Satanists are pretty pretty scared of this stuff. This is pretty much literally kind of the proverbial place where angels fear to tread. This topic. So um, without any more being said on that, let's look at this stuff. All right. Um, you see John D. and Edward Kelly and their crystal ball here on the right. I'll talk more about them in a later video. But what they're doing here in this picture, and by the way, this was in the 1580s. This was during the reign of Queen Elizabeth of England. Dee was an advisor to Elizabeth. Elizabeth was the daughter of Henry VIII. That's just how far this stuff goes back. What they're doing is they're channeling these spirits that they called angels. We call them the Enochian angels. It was in a language that they called angelic. We call it Enochian today. They were given through this channeling stuff a set of rituals that was designed to open 48 out of 49 gates using 48 ritual keys or calls. Remember that terminology of gate and call. That's going to be significant in some later videos, but also remember, for the sake of later on in this video, the number 49. The number 49 is the total number of gates, but they were only given ritualistic keys to open 48 of them. The logo that you see, or the symbol that you see on the bottom right, is an actual symbol that was given and shown to Dee and Kelly by the Enochian angels. That's not just some made up artwork stuff. That's the real deal. That came from these Enochian angels. Look at the one on the top left. That's Aleister Crowley's group AA and its logo. Um, do you see the significance? Do you see the resemblance between these two? Um, Aleister Crowley was seriously into this Enochian stuff. That's what he was all about, was this Enochian stuff. So what was the Enochian stuff all about? The whole purpose of this Enochian magic was just really only one thing, as far as I can figure out. And with everything that I've read about it, it seems like everybody pretty much agrees, no matter who you read, that it was all about this. It's pretty much a one-string banjo and a one-trick pony, and that is to bring about the apocalypse of Revelation mentioned in the Bible, complete with an incarnate Antichrist. To kickstart all of that and get the ball rolling for that, that's what the whole thing is about. When you open up that 49 gate, that's pretty much the Pandora's box, the lid being just blown off of it. And when these people dabble with this stuff in the occult, when they're well, Aleister Crowley wasn't dabbling, but when they do this kind of stuff, that is the whole goal of the entire thing. Is they are really trying to kickstart Revelation in a big time way, complete with an Antichrist. So that's really not even historically debatable. Uh, that's pretty easily verifiable if you just read around on the internet about it. That's a very important point to make, and I think I think that really gets at the heart of what the entire 9/11 ritual was about. It was that. Now let's look at the specifics of United 175 versus the occult. Going back here again to the Libri of Aleister Crowley. Libri is plural, library is singular. This is a list of occultic, ritualistic cookbook type stuff intended for the students of his magical order, the AA. These libri are divided into 5 different classifications: A, B, C, D, and I think one that is just no letter at all, apparently. Uh, 77, for example, and 161 apparently don't have a letter to classify them. And this part in the center comes from a screenshot from Wikipedia. Notice that there is no LIBR listed between 165 and 175, and then 175 and 185. That is because these numbers are chosen for a specific purpose, and that they have a reason why that LIBR has that number. In this case, with LIBR 175, which is classified as a D LIBR, it's just an instruction and a ritual. It's official rituals and instructions. In this case, an instruction on how to do a particular thing. And I think that the reason the 175 was chosen rather than say 172 or something is this magic square that you see on the right. You see Venus equals 175 in this magic square. Each magic square is related to a particular planet in the solar system. So Venus equals 175, and as we saw in the previous video, Venus equals Lucifer. Now, in this magical square, you have 7 by 7. You add any column, any vertical line, any horizontal line, you come up with 175 as a total. You can get 175 by going diagonally also if you go through the center. 7 times 7 is 49. There are 49 squares on here, just like the 49 gates. I don't think that that's a coincidence. So anyway, what is LIBR 175 about? What is it an instruction manual for? If you're going to use it, what are you trying to do? All right, let's have a look at this. All right. LIBR 175, this comes from Wikipedia, is an instruction in attainment by the method of devotion on Bhakta Yoga, how one may unite oneself to any particular deity. Now, which deity? And uniting, as in united 175, which deity? 175 equals Venus. Venus equals Lucifer. So which deity? It's not the Tooth Fairy. It's not the Easter Bunny. This is really serious stuff. And you see this uniting language and the United Airlines. That's really, really, really creepy to me. This made my skin crawl the first time I saw this. Now, an objection could be raised at this point, because if you read LIBR 175, what it tells you is it tells you that you should use sacrifices in order to get this spirit, this deity, to come into a human body. That's one of the means that you use to do this. But it also says toward the end of the LIBR that human sacrifice is forbidden for this purpose. Now, so you would say, oh, well, 9/11 was a huge human sacrifice, and so it couldn't be this. It's not. So the point I'm trying to make breaks down at that point. Well, not really. If you read it carefully, it does very strongly suggest that there are exceptions to the rule of human sacrifice, but something along the lines of this is kind of a paraphrase. The exceptions do not apply to this level or this order, or something like that is what it says. So it strongly hints that there may be times when, in order to unite oneself to a particular deity, where you would use human sacrifice. So that is really interesting to me. Now, where else might we see in the occult the idea of a spirit being united to a human body? Now, here's where we would see it. This is the Zohar, this book that you see on the top left. This is the foundational work of the Jewish mystical system known as Kabbalah. Now, Kabbalah is mystical Judaism. It's not Orthodox, biblical, Old Testament Judaism. It's really similar in some ways, but really theologically completely different. This is mystical sorcery type stuff, really. They have the idea on the Sabbath that that a spirit becomes united to the believer or the follower of the Kabbalah on a Sabbath in some sort of a mystical way. I've read that this spirit is God, and by God, they don't necessarily mean Yahweh. Now, it gets very mystical. Aleister Crowley was heavily involved in the Kabbalah. People who were in the cult are very much into the Kabbalah, among other things like symbols of Masonry, tarot, and that kind of stuff. But anyway, just to illustrate a point here that I'm trying to make, here are some quotes from a website on the Sabbath. This is from mygewishlearning.com, which apparently is a website that talks about Kabbalistic type stuff. I'm going to just kind of go through this very quickly. Quote, Sabbath is unification through oneness, which causes the mystery of oneness to dwell upon it, blah, 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 blah. A little further down on the same page, the idea that a special soul enters the body and resides there during the Sabbath dates back to the rabbinic period. The Zohar expands this notion, blah, 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 blah. Now, before I show you the next one, remember Aleister Crowley was deeply into sex magic, or ritual sex magic. He was bisexual, extremely promiscuous, and sex was a big part of his rituals. Now, look at this next one. Ritual innovation can also be seen in the Zohar's approach to human sexuality. The Zohar considers Sabbath the most propitious occasion for unitive and restorative mysticism through human sexual contact, or human sexual intercourse. Sexual intercourse on the Sabbath eve produces the special Sabbath soul. Yeah, so you see in the Sabbath or Shabbat in the Kabbalah the idea of some sort of a spirit or deity being united to a human body. Indwelling of some sort, which is, in terms of concept, is pretty similar to an incarnation, as you would have with the Antichrist coming into a person. So, where would we see the idea of the Sabbath or Saturday linked to 9/11 in some sort of a way with any of these flights? Well, go back to this guy, Danny Lewin. This is the guy who had the hijacker watch in the Irony Big series that had the hour, second, and minute and date all on the 11th. Now, if you look at the EXIF data for this photo right here, it shows you that the picture was taken on August 11th, 2000. Copyright Jason Grow at Akamai Technologies, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's all nice and everything, but August 11th, 2000 was a Friday, but look at his watch. It says Saturday. Now, why the discrepancy? Because this guy's a genius and he can't set his watch right. Saturday is the Sabbath. Danny Lewin was Jewish. Now, it's not just Jews that practice the Kabbalah, but he was Jewish. And this has kind of an occultic connection and significance, I think, to the events of the whole day. Of course, 9/11 didn't take place on the Sabbath, but they can't have everything their way. But I think that this is the way to explain why the day of the week is set wrong on his watch. And that's just about all I have time for in this video, because YouTube does have apparently a 15-minute time limit on their videos. So I apologize if I talked too quickly, but I wanted to get through this quickly, and I don't want to make these videos just last forever and just drag on and on anyway. So anyway, I hope you come back for the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one. The next video will be on Flight 93. And that one is going to be a little more hopeful because I'll show you why I think that this entire ritual failed. I believe that the entire 9/11 ritual was an attempt to do just what the Enochian angels were laying out, which was to kickstart the book of Revelation, complete with an Antichrist. And I think we have very good reason to believe that the ritual failed. So that's good news, and I'll talk about that on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.